Hello, it's Paul, 2EZ-EIJ, or if you catch me on 11 metres, 26 Charlie Tango 730. Now, I want to answer a question that a lot of amateurs get asked, and well, pretty much anyone in the radio hobby, not just amateurs actually thinking about it, is why not use a mobile phone to talk to other people or the internet? Well, we do use the internet to some extent, and mobile phones to some extent. There are apps out there available for Android and iPhones, such as for amateurs there's Link, and for everybody else there's if you want to look up an amateur radio call sign, say if you're a shortwave listener, there's a QRZ.com, or there's there was in development at one point, if you're not licensed, copy of the Free Radio Network client for Android. I'm not sure if it's still in development, but that one's actually a little bit harder to get hold of. So, because you have to download it off the internet to your phone, it's not available on the Google Play Store for various reasons. And there's also something recently come out called the International Radio Network that utilises TeamSpeak, which they've now been dedicated radios for that recently released, which require nothing more than the internet and a SIM card. Although some people will probably say that's not actually real radio. I'm sort of half and half on that one, and I'm looking to maybe review one of these internet radios in the not too distant future once I can get hold of one. But we'll see what happens with that. So, yeah, but the thing with the mobile phones is that they all rely on an infrastructure which can and does from time to time stop working. So if you were to get something like a CB radio in your car, for example, they're not expensive for the cheapest model, and a reasonable antenna and something to attach the antenna to the car, usually a mag mount, because that would save you drilling holes in the car. It's less hassle. It's just works. So say a few of your friends got them as well, you could just pick an empty channel. There's usually a few on CB these days. It's not like it was in the 1980s, or I've heard about the 1980s. I wasn't really in the scene then, because, well, I was only very little. So there you go. You've got near enough 80 channels available in the UK. The original set of channels that were type approved in November 1981 for FM only, and then there's the other 40 channels which roughly correspond to the American frequencies and European frequencies, 26,965 to 27,405 megahertz off the top of my head. Those are now available for all modes, AM, FM and single sideband, although again FM's probably all you're going to need if it's just a few of you just with a couple of cars. You're not looking to work DX or anything if it's just between cars, so you just want to keep in touch. Also good is that if you've got a CB radio in the car, is that you don't have to panic about it running out of battery and if you've not got a charger, because you can just plug them into the cigarette lighter socket, because they don't draw much current. So there you go, quick and easy. Handheld CBs do exist. I will be doing a video on these, although don't expect a lot out of them. Then you've got PMR 446. The range on them depends on whether you're inside or outside, whether you're in a built-up area or in the open, because these use UHF frequencies which don't really like to go through things all that well. I'm not going to explain that one. Some people do use slightly higher power radios on PMR 446. It's usually the Chinese Baofeng radios. Shouldn't really do that. You do it at your own risk. So try not to do that. Or modify stock PMR 446 radios to put out 4 watts, and again, do that at your own risk. I only know of at least 2 radios in which that can be done. I do own both of them, so if you want to do that, you do it at your own risk. But PMR 446, you can still use that to talk to people. Say if you're on a hike or something, it's little walkie-talkies with batteries in. That's all you need, half a watt. If you're in the open, it'll get you some significant distances. If you're right on top of a hill, you don't need a lot of power. And if you're in a place where there's absolutely no mobile phone reception, you're still in contact with everyone else that you're with. So no problem there. So, mobile phones, like I said, the drawback is they will require an infrastructure, as does the internet. If that all stops working, that's it, stops working. If you want to take the next step and go for your amateur radio license, you'll find all the information on this website here, the Radio Society of Great Britain. If you go into the training section, you will find the price for the foundation, and if you've already got your foundation, there's a price on there obviously for the intermediate if you want to go for that. And if you've already got your intermediate, like myself, all the information for the full license is on there as well. Yeah, you do have to take an exam. That's what the prices are for, the cost of the exam. So the exams are moving away from the paper-based exams of old to computer-based. I had a little tryout of this at last year's National Hamfest. Seems to work, although I didn't exactly succeed, but it was only just to see how I felt about it. I thought I'd give it a go. So when I come to do my full license exam, then it will definitely be done online. I am studying for that when I can. So just try and get that elusive M0 call sign. That's going to take some time. So if you do have a mobile phone and you do find you've driven somewhere it's not working and you do have some radio gear with you, radio gear will just keep working because it doesn't need anything in between. Although we do have repeaters on the amateur radio service, they're not always needed because if you're not that far away from the other station, just go onto a free clear frequency and there you go. That's basically what CB and PMR 446 are all based around, person to person. Only one person can talk at a time, but anyone else who's listening to the channel can actually hear. There isn't actually much privacy involved, or like there is with a mobile phone, but at least if you get into a spot of bother and you press that button and you say you need help, someone should hear you. Although if you want to operate CB from a home environment, there is the problem of noise these days, and also the size of the antenna necessary to do it. Although there are designs on the internet for antennas that could be made to be discreet. Though you need to know about wavelengths and things, but half the time that information's on the website anyway, in question. Though, if you know someone who's got an amateur radio license, yet you don't want to go onto that, and they have an antenna analyzer, and you're not sure what you're doing, just ask them for help. They'll be more than happy to, even if it is just for CB. I mean, at the moment, my situation is that I am in a flat, and putting a CB antenna on the outside of this building, or even one for 10 metres, because they're more or less similar sort of size, is definitely an absolute no-no, as I may have explained in my last video. An antenna for 2 metres and 70 centimetres on the amateur service, which would also work for PMR 446 but is not strictly legal, because obviously the type approval for most PMR 446 radios is the antenna. You can't put an external one on, and obviously you still only transmit half a watt, and also the most common coax cable that most people buy for CB, basically you lose all your signal in it anyway. because it's not designed for UHF, never was. So it's not best to put an antenna up for PMR 446 unless you're in America, for example, where those frequencies are allocated to the amateur service. So, but you can get a PMR 446 mobile unit that has a permanently connected magnetic antenna, and therefore you can just do that. You can use that between a few of you if you're driving on the road, but there's no guarantee the signal will get as far as it would on CB. Handheld CBs exist, but they leave a lot to be desired because the antennas on them aren't that big and therefore aren't that efficient. So if you were to try and use them, you're probably not going to get as far as you would with most normal CB setups anyway. I'm going to try and do a PMR 446 versus CB video at some point to see which handhelds actually fare the best, but at the moment none of my PMR 446 radios are actually fully charged. That needs to be done at some point before I can do such a video. So that will be coming up at some point though. I also plan to do CB handheld to handheld as well, with one up here in the shack and me with the other one. Let's just say I've been quite curious as to how they work between one another, and obviously the signal's going to get through that. But bearing in mind I am quite high up where I am, and obviously I was higher at the old QTH, but I'm only high up here because I'm right on the top floor. So yeah, well so if you want to go down the radio route, CB, antenna, and one of the most important tools is an SWR meter, all for your car, less than £100, near enough. If you want to operate from home, you will need a rather large antenna for CB, and you also need a power supply capable of turning the mains electricity into the 12 volts that the CB radio is expecting, because all CB radios made today run off 12 volts, although some can do 24 volts for things like HGVs. So there you go. But you don't really need anything that can do that. Just a simple radio with just tuning, a volume, and also squelch control, which cuts out the noise, as long as you don't turn that all the way. Right, so I think that about covers this. Just one final thing. Back to the mobile phones. Typical smartphone. This one is a Samsung Galaxy S8. Very nice phone. Served me well so far. I've not had it that long, and this is the sort of things you can get for it for radio. You can see these apps there, one of which includes Echolink for licensed amateurs like myself. So if I press on the Echolink app, there we go. That's the Echolink app. So all I've got to do is click on one of those, look for a node or something I would like to connect to, then connect to it, and then I can talk to someone on a repeater thousands of miles away in a different country. However, I can also do that to talk back to the local repeater here, GB3IR. However, I can do Echolink through GB3IR as well using the DTMF. Which is why most, if not all, 2-meter amateur radios tend to have a DTMF microphone, so they can access Echolink and IRLP. So there is a bit of internet involved even with the radio itself, because for Echolink and IRLP to work, they both need the internet. There are two differences between those systems though. Echolink you can access from something like this. You don't need a radio on you. IRLP on the other hand, you have to still have a radio because everything connects with the radio and the internet. There's no computer side for that, because it's designed for linking radio stations like repeaters and gateways together. So there are other internet connected services for radio as well. Yaesu's Wires X, that requires a Yaesu radio to work. Generally one compatible with System Fusion, although I think they can work with analog radios as well, but it's generally used with System Fusion, which is Yaesu's proprietary digital side, which I have the FTM 400 for, so I can actually use that. So there is still internet involved in radio, but you may also be asking why not use Facebook and Twitter. I am on Facebook, though I don't tend to use that, so don't bother there. I'm also on Twitter. I'm a little bit more active on Twitter than I am on Facebook, so I'm sure you can find me on Twitter easy enough if you'd like to follow, although not all my posts on there relate to amateur radio, just so you know. And also I'm here on YouTube with my videos for radio, so I'll be back soon with the next one. There's Paul 2E0 EIJ or 26 Charlie Tango 730 if you catch me on 11 meters. So next time, if you want to think about whether a radio is better than mobile phone, simple answer: they both have their own good and bad points. Right? 7-3.